Welcome back to Beauty for Ashes, episode 5, where we will talk about forgiveness and my journey on forgiveness, any insight that I have to give you about forgiveness. The thing with forgiveness is so tricky because I think at one point in life we feel like we're holding a grudge against someone, but we also feel like we're healed from them. Sometimes it's like out of sight, out of mind. Like, I'm not around this person, so how could I still be holding them hostage, or how could I still be operating in unforgiveness if I don't even see him, right? Wrong. No. God judges our heart and our heart alone. So what those deep-rooted things that we're not talking about, God knows about them. You know you've experienced or are experiencing unforgiveness when you can't be in the same room with someone, when you continue to replay traumatic events between, you and that person, when it's hard for you to wish the best for them. We're probably operating in unforgiveness. And oftentimes we might think, oh, well, how's it impacting me? Like, what's it like, out of sight, out of mind. I've moved on, whatever. If I don't forgive them, I don't forgive them, whatever. Not quite. Because the things that we don't forgive, we harbor. And the body remembers. I remember in therapy, I learned that the body keeps count. And just because you think you've moved on from a situation and you're not talking about it, or you're not affected maybe day to day, doesn't mean that you won't be, or doesn't mean that down the line you won't feel that impact, because again, the body remembers. So when I started therapy, of course you have to unroot everything. You have to go and tell them your deepest, darkest secrets, your fears, etc. And then you go on this journey. But in there, they kind of tell you, or they express to you, that it's time for forgiveness. And forgiveness is very important. Forgiveness is important to you and the person. Forgiveness is important to yourself. I remember there was a part in therapy where I had to forgive myself too. That's how important it is. I can't remember who told me this or where did I get it from, but I remember them saying that forgiveness is never receiving an apology. It's still forgiving someone, although you will never receive the apology. And I felt like that was so incremental to my life's journey, because now that's the only thing that I hold with me. When I'm thinking about like me wanting to hold someone hostage, or me being so angry with somebody or so bitter, the only thing that I want to do is just hold it. I'm like, you don't deserve forgiveness. You deserve my anger and my wrath for the rest of your life. And that's all cute for that moment. But it's like drinking poison, expecting them to die from it. They're not affected by it, only you are. Because anything that we harbor, the body remembers, the spirit remembers, and then we can't go forward, right? We're not operating in the fullness of God, because we're operating in, now we're in the demonic realm, right? Because the enemy is who's the unforgiver, right? God's people, we forgive easily. We don't hold anything close to our heart. As soon as you've committed a sin against us, it's forgiven immediately. And that is us mimicking the image of God. That's just who he is. If God kept a score sheet of us, if God keeps an accurate score sheet of us, and he decides to hold a grudge for everything that we've done against him, you would not know that man, okay? You would have been counted out, scratched off his list when you were born, okay? Because in the word of God, it says that after he created creation, God said, what I have created was evil. Okay, we'll come back to that. As we're navigating forgiveness, we first have to identify, what are my triggers that tells me that I'm not forgiving someone, okay? Mine's were, I would act like I had nothing against this person, but in their presence, I would ignore them. I will ignore you. I don't have anything to say to you. That doesn't necessarily mean I have anything bad to say, but I don't have anything good to say either. Or I don't have anything to say at all. I don't have any good energy to give out to you. I'm not going out of my way to acknowledge you. I will act like you do not exist. Point blank period, okay? In certain settings, I would probably avoid you. If there was a situation where we maybe had to be in the same room or things, I would just avoid you. And that would be it. And maybe we don't think that that's so big, because I'm not going around parading our issues or, doing anything directly to harm you. But again, this is not about the external person. This is about the internal being. And if I have to do all of that about somebody, they're taking up much more space than I'm giving them credit for, okay? And that's what we need to admit, that they are taking up space, they're taking up capacity. And we're like drives. If you take up too much capacity, we are full, okay? When you get to a point where you're so full, you have no room for anyone else's errors, and you probably start spiraling, okay? So identify that. This nonchalantness, passive aggressiveness is not of God. It's not necessary. So in these type of situations, the easiest way to navigate through them is wishing the people who've hurt us well. I know, it's hard. It's hard being the bigger person. That's why when people are like, I'm going to go and do this and that, I'm going to go and take vengeance upon myself. I'm like, that stuff is easy. The hard part is truly forgiving somebody and wiping their slate clean. Acting and operating like they've never done anything wrong. And I know a lot of times people are like, oh, well, we can forgive but never forget. No, we have to forgive then forget. That's healing. Once you forget, it's healing. When you can stop thinking about things or traumatic things that has happened to you, you have entered into the space of peace, okay? You are resting in the holiest place of peace. But if things still affect you and that person still affects you, I don't care if it's 50 years down the line, even if you don't want to be around them, you don't want to be in the room with them, you don't want to hear their voice, we're harboring unforgiveness. And unforgiveness does not just stem in that single part of our life just with them. We've probably held a lot of people hostage. We probably have them hostages, okay? And God is saying, release your hostages, baby. Because when you release your hostages, you have your freedom, okay? You have your freedom when you've released your hostages, and we have to release those people because in return, it releases us. If I don't have any ill feeling towards you, I don't mind you being around. I'm not keeping a chart of what you've done wrong. And actually, God states clearly in the Bible, love is, and he explains it, and it does not keep track of wrongdoing. We should not be keeping this list of things that people have done. And hey, I am the first partaker of this word. I keep these lists, okay? Because at one point I was like, I have to keep the list because I'm going to forget what they've done. And then I'm going to allow them back in if I don't keep the list of their wrongdoing. But the whole time God is saying, that's my spirit. That's the spirit of me. I'm not allowing you to keep this tracker of people's wrongdoing because it's hindering you. Okay, great. I thank you so much for that, God, because I'm a fool. But that's how, I've learned to navigate, and I've learned to identify these areas, because at one point I became so upset with myself because I wouldn't remember things. I have a horrible memory, or had a horrible memory. And I was like, why don't I ever remember what this person has done to me? And it will be foul things, like it will be horrible, horrific things, and I just wouldn't remember it. And I would invite a lot of people back into my space and forget that they have betrayed me, literally. And it was just this pattern. But we should exercise wisdom and discernment about who's close to us. And it's different than healing and removing than healing and holding. Those are two different things. So as I'm navigating through unforgiveness and making sure that I'm forgiving the people who've done something against me, is also ensuring that that I keep a space of God's protection around me, that I do not allow the enemy to infiltrate just because I'm thinking, I'm being the bigger person. I'm not quite. We are to forgive, and you can move on. That as simple as that. We just move on. We don't come back and rehash that. We don't go around spreading that information around or telling people what happened. It's just dead, right? That's it. So as I'm navigating through my forgiveness journey, a lot of times we have to forgive our families. We have to forgive the people closest to us. And we might think, well, they don't deserve my forgiveness. Well, we deserve God's, If we were to walk around with our sin written on our faces, everyone would look very ugly. Literally. If God showed everyone's sin daily, no one will look holy. No one will look redeemed. No one will look set free because we be wearing it like clothes. But thank you to God's grace that he comes in to redeem us and forgive us. That's the only reason that we have grace, is through forgiveness. So we have to exercise that to others as well. And it is challenging because it's not one of those things that happened overnight, because whatever the situation was, it didn't pop up overnight. It took time. So it's hard for us to kind of let people go, because we feel like if we hold them hostage, then they're forever indebted to their wrongdoing. And that's not true, because just because you don't forgive somebody does not mean God hasn't set them free. The same way we can go and ask God for forgiveness and grace and mercy and we change, our enemy can too. You know, the worst person you can think of, God can help or heal or change. We are that to somebody else. I always say that in every message. We are that to someone else. So when we're navigating these tough situations of unforgiveness, it starts with you. It starts with identifying what hurt you, identifying why it hurt you, identifying the timeline that it hurt you in, and then going and forgiving that person, specifically for everything that they've done. If you have to write it down, write it down. Write down everything a person has done to you and say, I forgive you for this. I forgive you for that. Today, I forgive you. You are clean in my book. You are wiped clean in my heaven. You are wiped clean of any iniquity. You are wiped clean of anything that you've done against me. I don't care what it is, but I forgive you. I forgive you. And you keep telling yourself that until you believe it. You keep telling yourself that until that thing moves, until you no longer think about that thing. It no longer comes up. And that's when you truly know that you're healed. And once you get to those steps in life, you repeat it. And instead of it taking you years to forgive or heal, we're doing it instantly. You're going outside and you're seeing someone who's cut you in the parking lot, and instead of you blowing on your horn or getting upset, you've forgiven them instantly and allowed them to go. No reaction, sweatless victories. In a situation where someone has called you out your name, or they've talked to you a way that you don't deem right, or that has been rude, instantly forgive them. Instantly. Because when you free those people, you have freed yourself. And the thing about that is it upsets the enemy when you're at peace. He is the author of confusion. If he can continue to force you to harbor ill feelings towards people, he know God will judge that and judge you for that. And he can't come in to bless you if your heart is in the wrong place against anybody, especially his people. So the enemy likes to come and bring these iniquities, that bring these demonic forces, bring these imps to come and upset us, so that we can harbor unforgiveness. Because this is how easy it is. You go to a meeting. In that meeting, someone looks at you the wrong way, says something that you didn't like. Now you have to go to a meeting with this person every single week because you guys sit on the same board, or you sit in the same classroom, or you sit in the same group, whatever the case might be. Now, because of something that person did one time, you have now labeled them as this way. And now from that day on, you don't have a mutually beneficial relationship anymore, because now you are holding something against that person. So you don't see them the way that maybe others see them. Now you've put them in a box. Now you've created, now you've created this imagery of them, of who they are, and you've held them there, right? And we act the way that we think. If someone's done something wrong or said something sly to us, we act on it. We don't just roll off our backs. No, we respond to it. So now you're going to all those meetings acting like you have something against this person. That's unforgiveness. And you see how easy it comes in and starts, and how it fluctuates and how it gets worse. The thing about unforgiveness is it's not like, oh, something today happened, that's it, that's all. No, it lightly treads higher. It just goes higher in increments. It's incremental, okay? That's why it's so important to nip it in the bud quickly. If you're in that meeting, somebody rubs you the wrong way, give them grace. Say, in your mind, I forgive them. I'm not holding them hostage. I don't know what they're going through. Whatever you have to say to get yourself off that ledge, to hold them people hostage, do it. Hey, I don't know what they're going through. It is what it is. Let it be. So I say all of that to say, again, these are nuggets that I use every single day to keep me in the right space with God. Though I fail, I still try. If I've figured out, or I've been holding something I did not realize I did hold it, I go and immediately make it right. And it's some worse, some horrific things that I've had to forgive. And again, that gave me freedom, because once I free those people of my anger, of my bitterness, of my sorrow, I could live in peace. Nothing could affect me. You can literally do or say anything and it will not affect me. It's not going to hit the inside of my spirit or my soul to the point where I'm like, I can't function. No, it's not doing that. I'm forgiving it and moving on. I think a lot of times, a lot of unforgiveness keeps things in the body. And I think that's where a lot of sickness and diseases come from, because you're holding so much in that you haven't let go. And the body keeps count. So again, join me next week where we will dive into another topic, and thank you for joining today.